Making Chicken Salad this week is brought to you by 3 Count Pro Wrestling Academy. Are you in Brisbane and thought about learning to be a wrestler? Well, here's your chance. 3 Count Pro Wrestling Academy are based out of Beenleigh in Queensland, and they're committed to teaching the best, safest way to learn the art of professional wrestling. Hit up their Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or email admin@3countfitness.com now to register your interest, and we thank them so much for supporting the show.
Here I was, blaming AEW for feeding you chicken shit, knowing you mindless millennials would be eating it up as if it were chicken salad, when it's really been your fault all along.
Make chicken salad out of chicken shit. People is as people does, that's all there is to it. But a square peg in a round hole just never seems to fit, and you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Hello and welcome to Making Chicken Salad, the Wrestle Radio Australia podcast where we talk about what's going on in the world of international wrestling. I am the happy folk, Lachlan Albert, and I am here with the man who just is trying to ruin me at every possible moment, Todd Eastman. Todd, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, man. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm good, mate. How are you? Through the power of editing, no one will know what happened there.
I even had a start for you. I had an intro for you, and you've ruined it by trying to pop me. So we are here. We are still on our little bit of, holiday break, not doing a regular episode of Making Chicken Salad here, but we like talking about wrestling. So we're here to kind of cover the results of WWE's Day 1 event, the first premium live event of the year. But before we get into that,
don't you be one of those. Please don't be one of those.
There's a couple of things that we want to talk about just in the wider world of wrestling, because we haven't had an episode in a while. So we want to really quickly cover some of the big news items. And one of them is our favorite person in the world, Cody Rhodes. We love talking about Cody Rhodes here on the podcast. Think he's just the best. So Cody managed to take the TNT championship off of Sammy Guevara over the Christmas break. And Todd, what's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah. I didn't know. Yeah, I think we're all on the same sort of page here where we don't like it. It's not exactly a hot take to say that wasn't probably a good idea to take it off a guy that has so much potential ahead of him. There's no real reason. There was no real build-up. There was no real anything for him to take that belt off him, except for the fact that he's recording a reality show again. So that's what all of this stuff has been for the last couple of months. I pieced it together and told you offline the other day. I said, that's what the Burning Table was about, and that's what this title thing's about. It's all about that damn fucking reality show, and I think it was a silly move, and I know a lot of people are defending it, but I don't see who this benefits at all.
We know who this championship win benefits. It benefits the crew of Roads to the Top, which you can catch on TNT weeknight. I can't wrap my head around what Cody needs this for, other than being a storyline on his reality show, which he could have done last time. He could have done it. We don't need more of the, if your life isn't interesting enough without taking a title, then you shouldn't have a reality TV show. I'm sorry if that's a controversial statement.
Yeah. Well, it's not only that, but they've also Sammy's already out there doing promos about wanting to get the belt back, and that's cool. But they already sort of have Cody in a program with the Men of the Year again still. Like they started that off with Brandy doing her thing with Dan Lambert the other night, and then Dustin getting attacked.
But Cody's got to have 3 storylines at any time. He's just so much of a man and such a strong champion that no one opponent can keep him down.
I had to laugh. I put that up as a reel. I think it was today. I put it up with Brandy cutting a promo, and you can actually hear JR's inner monologue come out halfway through. He goes, well, this is bad booking. I'm like, oh my God.
All right. So moving on to the other big AEW topic of conversation, something that we addressed a couple of episodes ago, but is rearing its ugly head. And that is the nature of Big Swole's release from AEW. So basically, Swole was seemingly amicably released. They agreed to let her contract run out. She didn't feel like AEW was the right place for her. She went on a podcast, was about an hour long. 40 minutes of that was spent complimenting Tony Khan, complimenting the company. For about 15 minutes of it, she was a little bit critical. She basically said that it was difficult for the women's division to get on TV. They were told that on Dark, they shouldn't work to their full potential. They should hold back while they're on Dark. She said that, you know, the representation wasn't incredible. The women's division was having a really hard time getting on TV. There was a lot of stop-start with it because Kenny Omega would be working with the women, and then he'd have to go off and do something, and Awesome Kong would come in and work with the women, but then she'd have to go off and film something, so someone else had come in. And so there was a lack of consistency there. She talked about Britt Baker being injured when they did the tooth and nail match, which led to some things that they weren't necessarily able to do spot-wise. Basically, you know, just saying that it was a tough position to be in, and that she didn't think the women and potentially the people of color were getting a fair shake on the program. Tony Khan responded with a tweet saying that, as he is wont to do, saying that he has lots of black friends. There's lots of black people in AEW.
I can't be racist. I have all these friends.
And also, the reason that Swole is gone is because she was a bad worker. Watch Rampage. So
that was a bit I hated.
Yeah, tell us about it then, Todd. Why did you hate it?
It's just like A is the whole you didn't quit. I fired you. There's that, or you're not good enough anyway. That sort of thing. But then at the end of it to say, watch Rampage. Like, dude, you go after Fox News because they say something bad about it. And it wasn't even a bad article. I read that article. It wasn't even a wholly bad article. You go after them for that. You go after Swole. When Swole fought, like I said, because I listened to that podcast this morning because I wanted to get a full picture of what she said. So there was no, in my mind, there was no.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Todd, because I've listened to bits and pieces, but there's like whole sections of her talking about how Tony Khan would rent out entire restaurants for the locker room.
Yep. Nothing for a good 40 minutes of that. It was a 55-minute podcast. I'll admit I did not listen to the last 10 because it was pretty much, it was like it's on a weird platform where they get callers in and they answer questions from callers, and they weren't really like interesting questions or anything like that. So I sort of switched off after her main monologue. Her main monologue went for about 50 minutes. The last 10 minutes were of why she left, how she left, and what she thinks they need to improve on. Because they had an exit interview and everything. So it was like, she said, I said this in my exit interview. And basically what it boiled down to was she said, there is no amount of money in the world that can make me happy sitting around at dark doing 3 to 5 minute matches forever. And that's the meat and the bones of it is that. And the whole thing about the whole representation thing had nothing to do with her actually leaving. She said it like basically her heart wasn't in it because that's what she was doing all the time. She was just doing dark matches all the time. And basically saying what I've been saying for ages, because there was an influx of so many people, there's not enough TV time on the big shows. So all these people are just going to be in catering or at dark. This is basically what I've been saying for how many months now.
Yep.
So she before her contract was up, she had messaged or had a meeting with Tony to say that when my contract is up, I won't be re-signing because my heart is not in this anymore. And for her, and not only that, like a few months before that, Tony Khan went on a podcast or an interview or one of those 1,000 things he said during the Brandy episode that he's done, and praised Swole, how good a worker she was, how she's helping the division, how she has a great future ahead of her. All of this sort of stuff. And then for him to come out afterwards and say, well, I let her go because she wasn't a very good wrestler, A, smells of a lie, and B, there's evidence to back up that you are lying about it, and you just can't admit that someone just doesn't want to play with you anymore.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing that, and here's the bit that I'm going to cop hate for, but people want to agree with Tony Khan. The same way that, let's not make it too political, but you've got like the Elon Musk bros who everything that Elon Musk says is 100% true. It's the same with Tony Khan. You've got these people who will echo everything that the man says. without question, right?
Mhm.
Up until this week, if you had asked those people about Big Swole, they would have been complimentary. But now that Khan has said that she was trash, they'll tell you that she's trash.
Oh, she was always bad. Oh, she's never good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's what he said. So obviously that's what they've always believed, because they have the same opinions as Tony Khan.
And not only that, and this is another thing that irks me, and it's really turned me off mainstream wrestling media at the moment, is that when this happened and this whole thing happened, a lot of people that were negative about it focused on the whole like people of color thing. They focused on that very hard, and not too much about the fact that she said there are so many people who don't get a chance. When I'm doing 3 to 5 minute matches, I don't want to be there. My heart's not in it. Nobody really focused on that at all. They just talked about this. And the mainstream media, wrestling media, didn't even really talk about that. They sort of just ignored the story. And the biggest thing about it was, what do they call it now? Premier paper, like the pay-per-views are called what?
Yeah, Premier Live Events.
Yes, that was tweeted all around the world as soon as somebody happened to say it. Oh, look what the WWE are doing now. They've changed the words of pay-per-view to blah, 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 and not the actual thing that is probably a more important story in the overall arc of humanity. Like, who gives a fuck what they're calling it anymore? They're not really pay-per-views anymore because a lot of people aren't paying to per-viewing it. They're getting it on Peacock.
Was WWE available on pay? Was Day One available on pay-per-view?
Yeah, it's still on. Like, you can get it on Main Event in Australia and on KO. So, I mean, the people that don't want to, and that's the dumbest thing in the world. Why wouldn't you just pay $12 a month, have done with it, than pay like $50 every like 2 or 3 months if you want to watch the big shows?
It's literally cheaper to have the subscription for a day than it is to pay for the 3 hours for a single watch through.
Yeah. So why wouldn't you just subscribe for that month, bugger it off, subscribe for the month of WrestleMania, bugger it off? I don't know why you wouldn't just do that. I personally subscribe to WWE Network because I love watching NWA, WCW, ECW, all the old catalog of stuff I like. And the Ruthless Aggression documentaries, I love those. And the Stone
Really?
Cold
You, Todd?
I don't know, right? And the Stone Cold podcast was really good too, because they actually they cut through a lot of the bullshit now. So it's not very company orientated, if that makes sense. But anyway, yeah, that's what irks me about it. Like, why wouldn't you cover this story? Like, I think there were people who were asking Dave Meltzer about it, and he was just like trying to point them just towards his like figure 4 on Wrestling Observer, instead of actually commenting on it on Twitter. Just go, oh no, go and watch this. This will tell me. And then WrestleNomics came out today, actually. WrestleNomics, who basically do a podcast about ratings and all of that sort of thing. They went through and looked at how many people of color on AEW for main event shows, to how many people have been on color for main event shows to WWE, to try and help AEW with their narrative. I'm just like, is there any unbiased reporting anymore at all? Yeah. It's just very, very annoying.
Yeah, it's really frustrating.
Same thing with I'm going on a rant here, and I know I probably shouldn't because we've got a thing to do. But that's what we're here for. The whole pro wrestling tease thing, because we haven't even got to I just remembered it now. For those of you that don't know,
I'll cover what happened really quickly. The gist of it is that Pro Wrestling Tees had a data breach. A data breach is a thing that happens to a lot of, websites that store personal data. Often emails get released. In this case, the Pro Wrestling Tees data breach contained credit card information. So payment information for users of the Pro Wrestling Tees website had that information potentially in the hands of people who had hacked the website, more or less.
Yes. It's not so much that this happened, because yes, this happens, like you said, all the time. This happened back in April. They let people know in December. They let customers know in December. Over 31,000 people were affected by this data breach. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, Pro Wrestling Tees also run AEW Shop, or Shop AEW, or whatever it's called. They also, a lot of podcasts and a lot of wrestling media sites have stores on Pro Wrestling Tees. So guess what story doesn't get covered very much? it's so very annoying. It's so very annoying to watch because on a thing, I'm like, why wouldn't you cover this story? Because you cover everything else. Why wouldn't you? And just on a whim, I thought I'm going to go to Pro Wrestling Tees and see if they have stores. And sure, Wrestling Inc. have got a store, Wrestling Observer have got a store, Wade Keller's got a store on there. Everyone you can think of that is a big name in wrestling podcasts, wrestling thing, have stores on Pro Wrestling Tees. So why would they say that, oh, these guys have had a data breach?
This is the thing, Todd, is what you've said is exactly right. You know, it's not unusual for a website to have a data breach. You inform your customers of it and you move on. It's a thing that happens, right? Mm-hmm. When there's a data breach, normally news sites cover it. Every time pretty much any website has a large-scale data breach, news sites will cover it for whatever type of, you know, website it is. Mm-hmm. The wrestling media did not cover this. Not only that, Pro Wrestling Tees went 8 months without telling people that their credit card information, their payment information had been breached.
Here's the thing too, like
it's one thing for emails and names, it's another thing when it's payment information.
Yeah, and I don't know if they didn't get, because it's a real weird timeline of things that are happening. So either they got hit in April and they found out in November, but then they held off in November till December 15th or something like that to let people know that it happened, or they knew all the way from April and didn't say anything through till November, where they was like, because from what I'm hearing, what I've like read, I think that they couldn't say anything from April through to November because of a investigation, which is fair enough. If the government have said, sure, or a governing body have said you can't say anything because we're doing this, that's cool. But if you've been told on November 1 or something that you can tell people now, you tell people November 1. You don't wait till after the Black Friday sales and everything, all that thing, and then go, okay, we can tell people now. And then you tell everyone. You don't just send out, they sent out mailed letters to people. They had their emails because God knows they got leaked. They could have emailed people.
Yep.
They sent out letters instead.
But this
has still made no, as far as I know, they have still made no public address of the situation. And neither is AEW, and like AEW would be doing a lot of business through Pro Wrestling Tees.
A lot.
Now, I wasn't really worried because stuff I've bought off Pro Wrestling Tees, I buy with PayPal. So none of my credit card information go to Pro Wrestling Tees at all. It's all PayPal. It's a third-party deal because I've always been a little bit dodgy about those things. So I go through, if it's a PayPal thing, I can go through that and it's fine.
Yeah. If you want to talk about a website that hasn't had a data breach, Redbubble, you can search for Wrestle Radio Australia. All the proceeds go to Gotcha for Life and Beyond Blue here in Australia. So, let's just mention that while we're talking about that.
Throw it out there, mate.
Hey, we gotta get that money to the people who can use it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move on to talking about WWE Day 1, and there is another major news story that kind of surrounds this whole event, and that is, of course, Roman Reigns announcing on the day of the event that he has tested positive for COVID-19. He will be unable to compete at the event. So this is obviously, thoughts go out to Roman. Mm-hmm. We've talked since we started doing Making Chicken Salad, we have talked about how great of a job Roman is doing in this heel role. He has been phenomenal, and we absolutely hope for the best for him. Especially because, as someone who has been through leukemia and survived that more than once, leukemia in remission, he is, immunocompromised. So COVID-19 does pose a proper threat to him, but that guy is tough as nails. I am sure that he will be able to make it out on the other side. Best wishes there. I want to quickly address, let me go on a little rant here.
Go on, mate. Go on.
You had your rant there, Todd. My turn.
Rant on, son.
It is disgusting to go to the tweet that Roman put up. Very well written tweet, by the way. I thought it was excellent. Mm-hmm. If you look at the replies of that tweet, the amount of people accusing him of faking having COVID is disgusting. The amount of people that have decided that this is a storyline decision for him to make up COVID. It's absolutely ridiculous. And we've talked about how fans treat wrestlers on social media before. And it's often really unpleasant. This is really disgusting. Someone who battled health issues multiple times, really serious health issues, having another health issue, and people accusing him of making it up, really uncool.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
All I will say to that, and I'm not at all condoning it, but I'm just saying in certain countries, there are still a lot of true believers. And that's what that would, like, I would fairly say that they would all come from a certain continent that have, a lot of them anyway, that have said these comments. Because, like, you see it all the time. If you're on Twitter, you see the comments from the true believers all the time. I know that the WWE is, like, they said they don't require testing now but if you're an athlete, if you're a wrestler and you are traveling that much, you should just be testing yourself anyway. I think the onus should be on the wrestler to do it, not the company to, like, have to say, look, we have to test you. If you are going to be traveling so much, you should be responsible for yourself in that way. And testing, I think, is free in America.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's going to cost them money to do it. Do you know what I mean? And by that I mean, like, sure, the WWE should be providing them. They should be if they wanted to. But
yeah, they should be.
Yeah, I think it's a whole thing.
Yeah,
we've entered the phase now where everyone is just like, well, this is what we have now. We're just going to have to deal with it in anyway. And I'm talking that's every country. That's here as well.
Yeah.
Like I've gone for since the start of COVID until this week, I knew one person that had COVID. I now know about 6 or 7 in the past week. So, I mean, this thing's here. It's going to get real over this year.
Yeah. I think. Yep. Which is amazing that it's taken for 2022 for it to happen, but here we go.
Yeah, it's going to get real.
But anyway, getting into day one.
Protect yourselves.
So, sorry. The effect of protect yourselves. Do what you got to do. The effect of Roman's diagnosis or positive test on the day one card is that instead of having Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar was added to the Fatal 4-Way match for the WWE Championship to make it a 5-way match as the main event. So we will get to what happened there. But in the pre-show, so before the show even officially went on, there was a tag team match with Ricochet and Cesaro versus Sheamus and Ridge Holland. There was a tag team move in which Ridge Holland was on the ground. Cesaro grabbed one of Ricochet's feet and flipped him. Looked to be, just like a assisted moonsault or whatever it was.
Assisted shooting star.
Assisted shooting star, thank you. Ricochet's foot went straight into Ridge Holland's face, broke his nose, was removed from the match, which led to Cesaro being essentially in a handicap match, which he then won. Sheamus, thank you. Sheamus being in a handicap match against Cesaro and Ricochet, which he then won. We were saying off air that maybe this is the point where you make a call on the fly if you're Sheamus and you decide, I know I was booked to go over, but I maybe shouldn't go over in a handicap match, so I'll let Cesaro take the win or Ricochet take the win. But, it is what it is, I guess. So Sheamus beats both Cesaro and Ricochet by himself.
I mean, for all we know, because they're in, like, with your IFBs, they're in constant contact with the back. So, like, if the back is gone, just keep going ahead with it. You don't cross the boss.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But,
yeah,
like I said to you, I probably would have changed it on the run and said, look, you guys, I can't beat both of you guys.
Yeah.
But exactly. what I found like interesting is that Ridge Holland had a broken nose. It was a broken nose. So you can carry on with a broken nose, especially if your gimmick is you're a tough guy. And I think this match was supposed to be somewhat of a coming out party for Ridge. So I don't know how it looks that a big strong pub fighter from England got sidelined with a broken nose halfway through a match and couldn't continue. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes on after that.
Yeah, and it's not like it was in a brawl or anything either, you know. Old finger butt landed on him wrong. So like I don't know. Yeah, it's not going to work in favor of the gimmick.
No.
Anyway, moving on to the main show. The show opened with a SmackDown Tag Team Championship match between the Usos defending their titles against the New Day. These two tag teams, I'm sure, could wrestle each other blindfolded. The number of times we have seen these two teams fight over a tag team title, that's even before, I imagine, the hundreds of house show matches they've had against each other. Like, obviously, these guys know what they're doing with each other, but it didn't make it any less of an absolutely awesome match. This match was brilliant. I loved it. I know that we're tag team wrestling fans here on the podcast. We talk a lot about how much we enjoy tag team wrestling, and these two teams are some of the best at it in the WWE by far. Yeah, just a really cool match, finishing with a 3D from the Usos, which was very cool. A new element to the arsenal there. Yeah, and it did feel like they had to pull out all the stops against each other because they know each other so well. They were constantly having people take moves. One of my favorite things you can do in a tag team match is push your partner out of the way and take a big move for them. Oh, love it. So yeah, this match was awesome. Have you got any conflicting thoughts on that, Todd?
Not at all. Not at all. Like you said, these two teams could wrestle each other in their sleep, and it would still be a great match. And this was a really good opener. It was a great way to start this show.
Yeah, absolutely. And then from there, we went to a one-on-one match where Drew McIntyre fought Madcap Moss, who was accompanied by Happy Corbin. So Corbin is managing Moss, who tells bad jokes. That's his gimmick. Can you confirm for me, Todd, is my memory failing me? Corbin beat Kurt Angle at WrestleMania in Kurt Angle's retirement match, yes?
Yes, he did.
And now he is managing Madcap Moss.
Oh, and just in one match. Most of the times on the shows, you'll see Madcap on the outside and there's Corbin wrestling. But right. I think obviously they must have set something up. So it's like Drew's supposed to go through Madcap to get to Corbin, blah, blah, blah. This is one of those times where you watch WWE and you get a match like Usos and New Day and you go, why do I feel critical of WWE? They put on some amazing stuff. And then you get Drew McIntyre and Madcap Moss for 10 minutes. And it was fine. Like, I'm not saying it was a bad match. It was fine. Moss looked pretty good. Riddick Moss is a good worker. He's a good worker.
He's good.
He's been a good worker for a long time.
He's good. Obviously, Drew McIntyre is good.
Yeah.
Corbin's great at getting heat. Like, it's good. I so don't feel anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me feel anything.
Look, I don't mind the whole Corbin managing and Moss. As far as I see, they're a team. So if someone's wrestling, the other guy's going to be on the outside. For me, that's a little bit of a nitpicky thing. This match was just a match to have a match. If anything, this probably should have opened the show, like been on the pre-show, and I would have been quite happy with it.
Yeah, or just have a show that's 2.5 hours instead of 3.
Yeah.
Like I know that that's a thing to say when they've got a roster the size of a small country, but it felt totally unnecessary for this to be a 10-minute match. I think, especially following such a great tag match,
I think they fattened everything out when they knew they weren't going to get Roman and Brock. So they sort of fattened. And if you saw during the show, there was a lot of vignettes that were played that was explaining some of the characters, which I thought wasn't entirely a bad idea, considering it was the first pay-per-view of the new year. I don't think many people will be doing much, so they'll be sitting at home and they might throw the show on. So they might go, okay, so this is Bianca Belair. She's a hell of an athlete. She's not on the show, but this is her. You know what I mean? It's a hell of it's a good way to introduce it.
And on top of that, a lot of those vignettes were actually for guys that were in the main event of the night. So
Yeah.
there was a Kevin Owens vignette, there was a Seth Rollins vignette, there was a Lashley vignette. And that is a great way to go. We are building towards a big match for a big prize, which I definitely noticed it. And I went, oh, this is to fill in for the main event spot.
Yeah, so did I.
But it felt like a good way to do it. In saying that, I think McIntyre and Moss would have been a much better match with 3 minutes shaved off it.
Yep.
Yeah, it was technically fine.
Yeah. It's like, and after we finish it, I'll talk about the tweet I put up about WWE, but we'll talk about the whole show first before I do it, because I don't want to.
Yeah, definitely. And that match is exactly what your tweet's about. So we'll come back to that. Then we go to the Raw Tag Team Championship match. This one is RK Bro defending against the Street Profits. The big thing for this match is RK Bro were accompanied by Migos, the greatest rap group in the world, apparently, who were just sitting by the commentary table. I'll let you lead off on this one, Todd. What did you think of the Raw Tag Team Championship match?
Look, I'll be honest, I didn't mind it. Look, Migos, if you're in Atlanta, because this is where this pay-per-view was, they're the shit. They are kings of Atlanta. So it's not a bad idea having them out there, put it that way. Even if they don't do anything, it's just cool to have them there. So as for the match, I dug it. As far as I'm concerned, like at the moment, I really like the chemistry that Riddle and Orton seem to have. Seems to have loosened Orton up a little bit from like the grumpy old man sort of thing. He's sort of be a little bit more relaxed now. Looks like he's actually having fun. And I mentioned this to Welshie from On the Turnbuckle because we were talking while the show was on. It's almost like Randy's hit this phase of his career where like he just wants to face all these young guys and go, all right, kid, let's see what you got. Because that's what it looked like when he was in the ring with what's his name? The smaller
Montez
one
Ford.
yes, Montez Ford. That's what it looked like. It was like, all right, kid, let's see what you've got. Let's see what you can do here. And Montez Ford has money written all over him. He is going to be a big star in the future because he has it. He's
got it.
His tag
Doesn't
partner
he have it?
His tag partner not so much, but his tag partner seems to know that he doesn't. So he plays the role.
Dawkins
that he
is good.
Yeah, Dawkins is good.
Dawkins is good in the ring. He's great as a tag team worker.
Yeah, but he just plays his role perfectly. If there wasn't like teams like Usos, teams like New Day, even RK Bro, because the two of those guys are two of the best wrestlers in the company. You can have your thoughts about Riddle that you want. He can flat out go when he needs to. Same with Randy. If it wasn't for those guys, like Street Profits probably should be running shit. Do you know what I mean? It just shows that even though it doesn't look it, they have a fairly stacked tag division when you look at it at a like macro level.
Yep.
They were huge, like especially when you've got teams like and I know people don't really like them, Otis and Chad Gable, two amazing wrestlers. Like
there are people who don't like Otis and Gable.
Otis's power is just fucking sick. And Chad Gable is one of the best technical wrestlers that doesn't get any flowers in the world. And yeah, I would love to see them do more. But like I said,
go back and watch Revival and American Alpha. Again, I tell people to do it. It seems like once a month. Go watch it. It's so good.
Also, as a side note, right? Kurt Angle put up a Christmas photo this year with all of his family. His son looks a little bit like Jason Jordan. I'm like, no wonder they went with this because the dude looks a little bit like him.
You talk while I look at Twitter.
Okay. It was a good it was a good match, like I said. Both these teams, it ended the way it should end because we all knew no titles. Well, we all thought no titles were going to really change hands on this show. And yeah, they got the desired result. What they really need, there really just needs to be a big bad team. There's no big bad tag teams anymore. Like the Usos try, but they still have a fan following, if you know what I mean. You could even put like the Viking Raiders.
Looks like Jason Jordan, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. I like if you put a real edge on them, like Viking Warriors, they could be a big bad. It's just they don't have any big bads at the moment, and they need them. They need someone that could come in and, like, they did it for a few weeks with Otis. It looked like Otis and Thing were going to be the big bad team that Orton couldn't hit the RKO on till he hit the RKO on him this week. Yeah. So that's what they need. They need a big bad. There's no big bads at the moment.
The thing that blew me away with this match, though, is that obviously RK Bro are going in as the faces. They've got Migos with them. They're very over. Street Profits are a face team. They're good guys, but they came in knowing that they're the bad guys in this match. And we talked about it when we talked about Daniel Bryan turning heel. The fact that they were able to be in the heel role without changing who they are as characters, superb. Because if you watch it, they were just Street Profits. They just leaned it in a direction that made the crowd want to cheer against them rather than for them.
Yeah.
Really clever. And Montez Ford's money. He is so good.
But it's all like, again, this whole thing that I'm talking about leads into what I'll talk about at the end of the show. So,
yeah, no,
like,
I think Montez Ford is
he's
a
money.
future singles star.
Absolute money.
I think he might have the best frog splash in the world. He is so good. And every time I see him do something a little bit different, like in this match where he had to play that heel role, he had to get people to be against him while still performing at that really high athletic level. And he nailed it. Really solid.
I'll get heat over this. He is Dante Martin if Dante Martin had a personality.
Boom. Drop the mic on that one.
Like, because he can do all of that stuff. He just picks his spots where he can do it. He picks his spots where he can do it. And the dude's got personality. He's got charisma.
Yeah. Also worth mentioning the tweet that came out earlier that was Bianca Belair designed and made the gear for them for Street Profits for this event. So good on her. What a power couple. You know, Bianca and Montez.
Yeah.
Like if we ever see another mixed match challenge, they've got to win it, right? Because, well, I cannot get over how much I enjoyed Montez Ford in this match.
Yeah.
I thought he was brilliant. And then after this match, we had a backstage promo where Drew McIntyre was going to have an interview, but instead got attacked by the Happy Folk, Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin, beaten down in the backstage area in a 2-on-1 assault. Moss put a chair around his neck, and then Corbin smashed it with a big metal bit of rigging. So that's Drew McIntyre, presumably injured for a couple of weeks.
He has an actual injury. That's why they've done this angle.
Yeah.
So he has an actual neck injury, so that's why they did this angle.
Yeah, it's just coming back to I don't care about Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin.
Yeah.
I wish that I did, and I wish that them doing a savage beating backstage felt like a savage beating backstage rather than a way to get someone off TV. But sometimes these teams feel like they're part of the WWE formula rather than telling a story. And that's what it felt like here to me.
I'll be honest.
That might not be true for everyone else. That's how I felt.
I don't mind Madcap Moss because people hate him. And they don't realize that he's doing his job by having people hate him. Like that. Remember, I put up a tweet a little while ago with that GIF of the guy going,
yeah.
Like that. It was literally from that guy because there was somebody I was talking to who goes, he's a terrible heel. I hate him. I'm like, that's kind of his job then. He's doing his job.
The point.
You're
and that's the thing with the
him.
Madcap Moss gimmick, right? Is that if he was out there telling like jokes that offended people, jokes that actually made people upset, that would be one thing. He's not. He is out there specifically to make you go, I don't want to watch this guy. I don't want to have to sit through 3 minutes of this guy telling jokes before his match. That's the goal of the character. That's how he's getting hate. I think he's doing good work there. It just feels formulaic to me.
Yeah.
It's what it comes down to is there's times when I'm watching and I feel invested, and there's times where I'm half watching and I'm on my phone. And when I'm on my phone, that means that it's not working the way it should be. and that's the way I'm feeling about the happy folk at the moment.
Fair enough.
That's just what it is.
Yeah.
If you're on your phone, what you should do is go on over to Facebook, search Wrestle Radio Australia, hit that like button. If you're on Twitter, go to Wrestle Radio AU. If you're on Instagram, Wrestle Radio AU, hit that follow button. Keep up to date with all the things we're doing and let us know what you think. We really want to hear your opinions. We want to hear what you're thinking about the world of wrestling at the moment. So you can tell us over there. Did you like that one, Todd?
I love that segue, mate. I'm so proud of you right now.
I'm getting there. I'm learning the craft. So with that, stick around. We've got more of day one to talk about right after this.
This is the Bro Day Pod. I think like a crocodile has like the bite force and and like the rip and tear, but I feel like a shark
and
way
roll.
too much teeth, man. Way too many teeth. Too much teeth.
Yeah.
Too many teeth. Like just tear flesh out of it. If it's a great white as well, I feel like a shark's got it.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
If I'm in there, I could choke out a
Oh
shark.
my god, dude. What is this?
You turn into
Is that all this podcast is? This podcast is just to prove, just for you to convince the world that you can fight every animal. Oh, I'm so heated now.
Shut up. It's a triple threat.
Who's taking the pin? If it's a triple threat.
A triple threat. I'll be the crocodile first. And then
It's elimination. It's an elimination. You're taking them both out. Nah, bro. This came out of nowhere. That came out of nowhere. That's it. At any point, all you want to do is prove you can fight animals. Go to the next one. Go to the next one.
All right.
Go to the next one.
Okay.
Follow Bro Day No Plan B podcast on Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Making Chicken Salad. We are talking about all the results of WWE's Day 1, the first premier live event of the year for WWE. The next match, and I had to double check that, yes, this did happen in 2022. Edge versus The Miz was a match that happened next. And, like, these guys can work. You know, there's no real surprises here. They're both really consistent in the ring. They know how to put together a match. A big part of this match was that Miz had Maurice in his corner, so there was interference with Maurice whacking Edge with a handbag and all of that. Thankfully, though, Edge's wife, Beth Phoenix, appeared on the ramp and chased off Maurice so that Edge could hit the spear on Miz and get the 3 count. And yeah, it was pretty good. It wasn't like an incredible match, but it was on day 1. It wasn't on WrestleMania, so it didn't need to be an incredible match. I felt like this did a really good spot, a really good job in the spot it was in on the card. What did you think?
Yeah, this to me was a taster for things that will come for these two. It was like the start of a thing. So there'll be this, then there'll be a mixed tag, then there'll probably be some big stip match between the two. Hang on a second, I just have to pause this. Sorry guys, I'm going to pause this because I have to answer a message. I apologize.
Sorry about that, folks. Todd has to actually work on wrestling shows during his time as well.
Working on wrestling shows while
yeah,
working on a wrestling show.
Yeah, that's right. I am always happy to see Beth Phoenix somewhere. I think that, you know, she said that she was going to be sticking around the WWE when she left the NXT commentary role. I'm thrilled that maybe it's to do some in-ring work with Maurice and Edge and Miz. I've said before that Beth Phoenix was massively before her time. There are not many male wrestlers who were as before their time as Beth Phoenix was. If you imagine, if she debuted 10 years later than she did, if she was just literally a decade younger, imagine the hot streak she would be on right now. She would be the queen of the industry. So I'm really glad to see her getting a chance to be in the spotlight. Speaking of women in the spotlight, let's talk about the Raw Women's Championship match that was held between Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan. This was, and again, as someone who's been not massively keeping up with WWE over the last few months, Liv Morgan has really got it going on in the ring. She is getting really, really good. And it feels like this is setting up for her to get her flowers. This was a really great matchup. Obviously, Becky knows what she's doing. In saying that, it did look like there was a little bit of a missed finish in this match. So a previous match had Becky Lynch beating Liv Morgan with her feet on the ropes for leverage during the pin. The ref didn't catch it. A hand on the rope, thank you, for the leverage. At the end of this match, Becky did what commentary called a manhandle slam, but it wasn't, but that's a whole nother conversation. Becky hit a slam on Liv and then went into the cover and then kind of was kicking her foot out to try and get it on the bottom rope for leverage, but couldn't quite get it in the 3. So she just got the clean win instead. I don't know what happens there, because it seems like the plan was to have Becky get another dirty win in the lead up to maybe Liv taking the belt off her, but she just got a clean win. So who knows? But either way, the match was great, and it, really showed off that Liv has the potential to be in this spotlight.
Yep, I totally agree. It was a really, really good match. Liv is so very over at the moment. She is so very hot that there was a good minute there where I thought they're going to give her this belt here. And I like the fact that they didn't. I like the fact that they're holding off, hopefully for a Rumble or a WrestleMania, something like that, something where she can get her flowers on a bigger stage, if that makes sense. She's come along so much, and it's so very good to see. And this was one of the best matches on the card.
Yeah, absolutely agree. A big highlight for this show overall. I don't think there's much more to say about that. It was a really good match. I hope that we get to see more.
It was a modified manhandle.
Sure, a modified manhandle it was a manhandle slam minus the manhandle.
No, there was a bit of handling of the man.
Okay. I don't know how to transition.
I know.
But Johnny Knoxville's in the
transition to that one, dickhead.
On Instagram, Johnny Knoxville started talking about, speaking of handling a man.
Got him, yeah.
Johnny
in Jackass, there's plenty of man handling.
Johnny Knoxville,
speaking of Jackass,
there's plenty of handling men in Jackass. So the new Jackass movie is coming out in February. So in January, Johnny Knoxville is going to be in the Royal Rumble. He's going to come out at number 12, and he's going to last till number 14. That's my prediction.
That's your prediction to it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Johnny Knoxville's in the Rumble. Maybe this would have been interesting a decade ago when Johnny Knoxville was relevant. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Any thoughts on this?
No. Carry on.
No.
It is what it is.
All right.
It's Drew Carey. It's Pete Rose. It is what it is.
That's right. I tell you who I would love to see eliminate Johnny Knoxville is Pat McAfee. If Pat wants to get in the Rumble and eliminate Johnny Knoxville, that'd work for me.
Yeah. Just Pat in the Rumble, I'd be happy with.
Yeah,
I love him.
Yeah.
He is so head and shoulders. Him and Cole together are so very good. Now, I know everyone gives Cole shit, but I really like Cole in this partnership with McAfee. They just seem to click.
Yeah, the show had kind of a divide where the first 2 matches were SmackDown, the rest of the show was Raw, and the commentary on the first 2 matches, even with me, critiquing that McIntyre Moss match, the commentary of the first 2 matches were so good. They are so fun as a commentary team. Cole has all the experience you could ask for. He's really straight-laced. And then Pat is just having an absolute blast with all that energy. Yeah, can't speak highly of him enough. Loving Pat McAfee. Anyway, main event time. It's a fatal 5-way match. We've got Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Bobby Lashley, champion Big E, and late addition to the match, Brock Lesnar. Now, before we get into anything that happened in this match, I'm going to have a complaint. The champion should come out last.
Yeah.
I don't care who else is in the match. I understand that Brock Lesnar is a big deal. The champion comes out last. You don't have 3 wrestlers, then the champion, then another challenger. I thought it was really uncool. I get that Lesnar's apparently a draw, but
speaking of uncool things, if you are Seth Rollins, how unhappy would you be? If you think about it, at the start of this whole program, he won a match. It was a ladder match, I think, too. He won a ladder match for that title shot. So it was a one-on-one. Big E. Next thing you know, Kevin Owens is in it. Next thing you know, Bobby Lashley's in it. Next thing you know, fucking Brock Lesnar is in that match. If anyone deserves some sort of recompense, it's Seth freaking Rollins.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And look, we were talking about how we really liked the build to this match. We really liked that, Owens cheated his way in, and then Owens came in and hit Seth to get disqualified so that someone else didn't get added. And it was a really cool build. And then all of a sudden Lesnar's in it. And spoiler alert, Lesnar wins the match. Lesnar's your new champion.
I'll tell you what, though, you can't argue with the fact that they could have just pulled Lesnar completely, not had him on the show, any of that stuff. The fact that they put him in this added just that bit of spontaneity that has been missing for a long time on these shows. You didn't quite know what was going to happen. I would not have bet on Lesnar winning this match at all. I had good money on the fact that somewhere during this match, the Usos were going to come out and fuck with him.
Yeah.
And it never happened.
Yeah. I don't necessarily think unexpected means good. I still don't like what happened. You're right that it does give an air of unpredictability, but yeah, I just felt that, and look, I understand that Lesnar is an unpinnable killing machine. That's the whole gimmick. But this match was the shortest match on the card, right? This was shorter than Moss and McIntyre. It was shorter than the pre-show tag match. It was the shortest match on the card. It went a little over 8 minutes from memory. Hang on, I've got times up here.
Holy shit.
This match was 8 minutes and 25 seconds.
That's actually shocking.
That McIntyre-Riddick Moss match was 9 minutes 45.
Wow.
So, the shortest match on the card. So, within that 8 minutes,
I'm wondering if is that bell to bell or is that with entrances?
I believe that's bell to bell.
Because then that stretches it out to about 15 because you got 5 guys that came in.
Yeah, when you take into account all the entrances and stuff, it is, longer, but the match itself, quite short. Now, within that 8 minutes and 25 seconds, Lesnar gets speared through a barricade, takes a frog splash on the floor, gets hit with another spear in the ring by Bobby Lashley, and just hits an F5 and wins.
He hit
and
a
that's
lot of
on
F5s
top of the
before that.
Sorry, double DDT onto steel stairs.
Yeah,
that's a lot of punishment to get up from.
Yeah, he took a lot more offense than I think I'd seen him take in a long time, but it was well done. It was sort of like you could see these guys teaming up to try and take him out, and they still couldn't do it. He was still that much of a fucking monster that he couldn't do it. As quick as you said this match was, I really liked it. I thought it was well paced. It was because it's a 5-way. Everyone got their stuff in, and it still made sense when they did it. They all got their little shine to show off that these guys are good guys. These guys are good workers. Not like that was a question, but they are. The whole sequence with the turnaround into the spear, the kick out, I didn't think it was going to. I thought Lesnar might have had that on that spear, and then with the big ending, I thought maybe that was going to be the finish as well. I was genuinely shocked when Lesnar won that match.
For me, I feel like, and again, people are going to disagree with me. That's fine. Why am I watching wrestling if Brock Lesnar is this undefeatable?
Because somebody's got to come along to beat him.
Sure, but every time someone does come along to beat him, he gets the win back a little bit later. Who was the last person to beat him other than Reigns, who he's feuding with? And the last time I remember him getting properly beaten was against Seth Rollins, who he took out in this match.
But then it means something when somebody beats him.
Does it? Because it doesn't feel like... If it means something when someone beats him, then why isn't Rollins bragging about beating him when he comes into this match? Why is Rollins completely destroyed by him in this match?
Because that at the moment, well, for one, didn't really have much of a chance to cut a promo on Brock Lesnar coming into this match, did he? Because it was day off.
He did. He had a backstage promo segment. Like, I get what you're saying, but he had a backstage promo segment. If it means as much as you're saying it does, you mention it.
I respectfully disagree with you for the fact that you need these certain guys like Taker. Like Lesnar beat Taker. Lesnar's the new Taker. He doesn't lose very often. So when he does, it means something. You know what I mean? So
sure.
I mean, you can discount the whole thing for the empty arena WrestleManias, unfortunately, because they were what they were. But when he loses, it means something. When he lost that Money in the Bank thing to Seth Rollins, when Seth came in and won the title, that meant something. Like Seth was a made man after that, wasn't he? He became like main event Rollins, if you know what I mean. He was the key figure in that WWE run for that set of time with the whole thing. The whole thing when Roman eventually beat him, that made Roman, that established Roman as the dude because he could beat this guy. You need these guys as much as that we hate the fact that he never gets beaten. We need these guys because they mean something. When there's so much 50-50 booking, sometimes there needs to be a 90-10 booking.
Sure. Here's the side of the coin that I'm gonna flip back at you.
Okay.
Is I don't watch Brock Lesnar matches. I see no point to them. He does maybe 3 moves if you include an Irish whip. So I don't watch them. I read the results because they're on Wikipedia and it takes me 3 seconds to read the result rather than the 4 minutes it'll take me to watch the match. I don't find them interesting to watch. I don't find the character compelling. Someone's going to beat him eventually. Wikipedia will tell me who it is, and then I know that that's a story I might be interested in. But I could not care less about Brock Lesnar.
So you didn't
this
care,
is what I was saying before.
You didn't care all about this angle going in with him and Heyman and Reigns?
I thought that was good, right? Which is Heyman, but Brock was barely on TV for that happening, right?
Oh, no. The last couple of things, he's been very much the whole thing with Sami Zayn, which is very entertaining. Like he's shown this last month or so that he can actually cut promos as a babyface and then be somewhat entertaining.
Look, full credit. His work over the last 6 months has been better than his work over the last 6 years. I 100% agree. I'll keep up with his matches with his eventual match with Roman. I'll see what happens. I won't watch any of the other matches. You don't want
to watch him and Lashley because I'm excited to see that one. I'm excited to see those two. If I had, I think I put a tweet up afterwards. My dream Mania show would be Lashley, Lesnar, Reigns, Rock. I can't remember what the third one. Oh, Big E Goldberg, and Becky Lynch to lose to Liv at WrestleMania. Yep. That would be 5 matches on that show that I would love. 5 dream WrestleMania matches.
I hope that Lashley gets a Mania match against Brock because I think Lashley deserves it. I think he's really good. I think he deserves that payday and that level of respect. I'll use that match as a bathroom break. I don't care to watch him have a match.
You're lying to me right now. You're looking at my face and you're lying to me. I thought we were friends and you're doing this.
Todd, do you think Lashley versus Brock Lesnar goes for more than 3 minutes?
Yes, I do.
Do you think there is a move other than kick, punch, suplex, F5 spear?
Yes.
Other than those 5 moves, is there a move?
Yes, he did plenty of them in that match. Lashley will get a lot of
What
offense.
did he do?
Lashley will get a lot of offense on. Here's the thing, right? He does all these moves. People have to try and stop them. If I had a move that no one could stop, guess what? That's the only move you're going to get, brother.
Sure.
So why wouldn't I German suplex someone 67 times because I know this motherfucker can't stop me doing it, and I'm going to pin him at the end of it with an F5 because he can't stop that shit either.
Are you telling me that you would love to watch 67 German suplexes in a row every show for the rest of your life?
No, I'm not telling you that at all.
That's what I'm saying. And I feel like I've seen 67 German suplexes for the last 6 years.
I just think with Lashley, it's a different beast. Lashley is very much in the same mold as what Lesnar is, so it'll be very much a 50-50 style match. And that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited to see that. And the fact is, like, I know that it wasn't planned at all for Lesnar to win this title, but it opens up so many other things at the moment. Like, Heyman could come out on SmackDown and say, my tribal chief, look what I did for you. I made sure he went to Raw so we don't have to worry about him anymore. And ingratiate himself back into the fold of the family. Like, that's an angle they can take. I don't know who would step up on SmackDown, though, to take that challenger role at the moment, unless someone can smell what someone's cooking.
Yep. Yeah. Look, this is where and again, this is an agree to disagree.
Yep.
Because I get the appeal of Brock. It's not for me. And that's I totally understand why people are excited to see a Brock Lesnar match. But, like a really good example of a Brock Lesnar match was Brock versus Goldberg, right? That is a really great example of how exciting a Brock Lesnar match can be. And I don't really care, right? I don't think that Bobby Lashley is different. I think that people can make me care about a Brock Lesnar match, right? I think Paul Heyman is the kind of guy who can do it. Maybe MVP can do it. Maybe. MVP's real good on the mic. Maybe I can be made to care. But at this point, I don't think I will care about this title reign. And it makes me care less about the rest of the show because I know that Brock can come in at any time and squash someone. And because he's Brock Lesnar, he's allowed to do it. Because apparently if your Brock Lesnar and a match falls through, you ask to be put in the other title match and you get put into it. It makes the prestige around the main event feel less to me.
No, because he's a free agent because of his advocate, Paul Heyman.
Free agent doesn't mean that you get a title shot whenever you want one.
No, but when you're someone like Brock Lesnar with the pedigree that Brock Lesnar has, then of course you can. If you've got a guy that showed up to town, right? Say this is the what am I going to say? Say this is 1986, right? And it was Hulk Hogan versus Randy Savage. And Randy Savage was injured and couldn't have the match. Would you put Hulk in another title match if there was another world champion there? Or would you just say, no, Hulk, have the day off?
Well, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I wouldn't say to Lesnar, have the day off. I would say, all right, Lesnar, here's happy freaking Corbin because he's not wrestling tonight. You know what I mean? And then I understand what you're saying, but to me, like, let's run back what I said very recently. Seth Rollins beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. If the pedigree of Lesnar is enough for him to walk into a title match, why did Seth have to win a ladder match in order to get his title shot?
Because it's different for that. Because of the fact that they are.
But this is what it's coming down to. It's all feel. It's all feel that we're on right now. Lesnar has the feel of a huge attraction because he barely ever loses because he barely ever works. And when he works, he refuses to lose. Right?
Oh, he doesn't refuse to lose.
He doesn't refuse to lose. He doesn't lose. Right? That's part of the character. He doesn't lose. Right? To some people, that's going to be exciting because it's this huge event when he does wrestle. And if someone beats him, that's insane. For me, it just feels like going through the motions of a Lesnar match. Like I never feel truly surprised by something that's happening with Brock Lesnar, because I feel like either someone beats him in 6 minutes and it's incredible, or he beats someone in 6 minutes and it's a slaughter. And that's what happens. And then he eventually gets beaten, and then we start the 2-year cycle again.
I'm going to have you have this conversation with Jake Nova next time.
Okay.
Because Jake loves Brock Lesnar.
Will do.
Jake loves Brock Lesnar.
Will do. Sure. Yeah. And again, like I said, it's a difference of opinion. I understand that some people are going to love it. It's absolutely not for me. It's really just not. And that's because, yeah, like it comes down to, what do I enjoy about wrestling? And I enjoy the dumb shit. That's why I watch lots of Lucha Libre. It's why I watch lots of, the Japanese women's wrestling, because it's going to be wild stuff that's unexpected. It's innovative. It's crazy. I don't particularly like big guys hitting each other. And Brock Lesnar is a big guy who hits people.
That is fair enough. So we'll agree to disagree.
Anyway, we'll agree to disagree on that one. If you want to agree to disagree with us,
before you do that,
what you think.
Sorry.
Here we go.
Before you do that, I just wanted, because remember, I kept mentioning it through the show, the tweet I had.
Yeah, let's talk about the tweet.
Yeah. So during the show, I think it was during the show. I think it was probably actually was during the show. Yeah, 12:46. So it would have been in the middle of the actual pay-per-view. All right. The biggest problem with WWE at the moment isn't the workers. It isn't the booking. It's that it's too polished and safe. There's no real grit to it. Like Monday night used to be Raw, but now it's more like a pre-cooked meal that you heat up and you eat. There's nothing everything is so very, I thought about it today because I sort of wanted to add to it. It's like watching wrestling through an Instagram filter. Like everything is very polished. Everything is very, like it looks like there's a filter on it. Like the crowd look a little different to what an AEW crowd looks like. It's all very too well rehearsed. Too, like AEW is somewhat not enough rehearsed, and WWE is too rehearsed. If that makes sense at all.
Yeah,
I like the way that AEW film. I wish that WWE would film the way AEW do in some respects, because it looks live. Even when WWE is live, It doesn't look live. It looks like it's been, because their production team is so good and everything they do is so good. It just looks too good. If that makes it all sense.
Absolutely. And this is what I was saying with that Drew McIntyre match. Like, it feels like Drew McIntyre, like when the match was getting agented beforehand, like they just said, have that match. And then they did. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like they had to think about what they were doing at all, because this is just the WWE match. Face starts strong, something happens, the bad guy does something a little bit dirty, gets advantage, beats on the face for a while, face makes a big comeback, gets the win. I don't
even mind that, because like you can always do that. That is a tried and true thing. You can always do that.
Tried and true.
You're doing it. That's fine. It's honestly, it's the way it's filmed. To me, it's the way it is produced. It's the way it's like a lot of these things. If you saw some of these matches the way that AEW filmed them, you would probably like them a hell of a lot more, because it's not.
That's true.
It's not polished. It's not. It's gritty. Like wrestling is supposed to be gritty. Wrestling is supposed to be, in my mind, okay. Wrestling is supposed to be old buildings, smoke-filled, fucking. You know what I mean? Back in the day, where the dudes like hit each other. They hit each other. You weren't quite sure if this was real or not, because the little thing, it happens every now and then. Be like, oh, I don't think that was, but it doesn't happen nearly enough to where, like, it's very hard to suspend disbelief at the moment, especially in a WWE show where everything looks and is timed out to perfection, and promos are done a certain way by every person. There's no one with a different type of promo. You can tell when someone has a different type of promo because it stands out so well. Like Paul Heyman, you can tell is probably not scripted. because his promos are very different. I would imagine that maybe even Roman isn't very much scripted, because just the way that they can bounce off each other and the way they work that thing. A lot of the other guys, you can tell they all sort of have like creator wrestler personalities, and it's a big problem for WWE. The AEW has
And they
the opposite.
like they've rehearsed exactly what they're going to say to the crowd here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that is exactly right. That is exactly right. Like, and AEW is the opposite problem, where they're almost too that way. They're almost too. It's good that you can do it, but there needs to be a little bit of. And I think Big Swole even said there's not very much control where it comes to. They give us our creative freedom, but you also need someone to rope you in a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's yeah. There needs to be somewhere where if any promotion can unlock that middle ground, they will make some money.
Oh yeah,
because we've seen you've seen like Dynamite is slowly raising at the moment in the ratings, but it's taking them a while. Like everyone thought they'd be over the mill. They're flirting with it now, but how long has it taken them to do that? And how many extra people have they brought in to do that? If anyone unlocks that, where they can get that grittiness feeling, but also like be booked right with some sensible stuff, man. And it wouldn't take much. It wouldn't take much.
No.
I think, unfortunately, it's so hard to say to a promotion, wait, back up on your presentation a bit, will you? Stop being so good. Like, get a little bit gritty. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean, though? It's just...
it is overproduced. Yeah. It is really sanitized.
Yeah.
And there needs to be something to make it feel real.
Yeah, that's right. I want that feeling. And this is why I criticize AEW so much, is because I like it. And I want it to be good. I want it to be. I don't want, like, for instance, there to be a beatdown with one of the Inner Circle. I can't remember which one it is at the moment. And to wait till after the guy hits it, and for Jericho's music to play before Jericho runs out. Because that to me doesn't make sense. You would just run out. You would play the music while I'm running. I don't give a shit. I'm out there. So, and then, like, not only that, but they do the same spot 2 matches later. That's where I'm saying there's no control about it. There's no like, oh, you can't do that.
WWE feels too controlled, but it feels like there's no one looking at the big picture in AEW.
And AEW feels like there's a one-trick pony that they have, and they're going to keep riding that pony. Like after every match, there must be
Tony Khan getting on Twitter.
There must be like after every match, there must be some sort of a beatdown or some sort of interaction after a match. There must be you can say shit. You must say shit at least once in a promo, please, because we need to get over that we're edgy.
And I know we're off topic here, but part of that is that they're so committed to this idea of we don't do, dodgy finishes. Everything is, there's not going to be a distraction finish. It's not going to be a DQ or a count out. Part of the issue with AEW is that they feel so committed to this idea of, not having dodgy finishes in the form of distraction endings or DQs or countouts, that they end up relying on the only other handful of things wrestling has to keep telling a story, and that's like post-match beatdowns, right? You've only got so many tools in the toolbox, and AEW has decided that, these tools, we don't use them, which means that they're limited in what they can do. And now it's feeling boring on the other side because they've decided that X, Y, Z, that's the enemy. We don't do that. And it's left them with less.
Mm-hmm. There was a reason why they brought in disqualifications and countouts, because they're storytelling tools. You don't use them all the time. You shouldn't use them all the time. I know WWE probably use them way too much, whereas like AEW don't use them at all. You should use them. Like sprinkle them in.
Yep.
Like that is wrestling. It's like back in the day when Bill Watts came in and said to WCW workers, no moves off the top rope. And what was the other one? And they took all the pads away from the outside ring because they wanted it to look like if you're attacked outside, it hurts. But the no moves off the top rope, that just, it takes a tool away from someone, and a tool that's quite useful. And also they used to have, and one thing I didn't mind, and if I thought I could get it over, I probably would do it, is they used to have, if you threw a guy over the top rope during the match, you got disqualified. I didn't mind that as a storytelling like arc, because you could do that by accident. And the referee, you threw him over, you're disqualified. What do you mean? Sorry, man, you did it. That to me,
you get the dusty finishes off it where someone wins the match and then they go, actually 2 minutes ago you threw him over the top rope, so you actually lose.
Yeah.
Like, great tools for telling stories. And you're right, WWE are overusing them, AEW is underusing them. You wouldn't have a block of salt for dinner, but you should season your steak.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. And then you don't have things like Hangman, where he spends 5 minutes on the outside of the ring and he doesn't get counted. I think they did it as well this week. Listening to the Jim Cornette podcast. They were talking about Thunder Rosa and what was her name? Big chick. Managed by Mark Sterling. Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill.
Jade Cargill.
Yeah, they spent like 3 minutes on the outside fighting. And like the only way they broke it was just by putting a head under the ropes and then coming out. That's not breaking the count. Like, I disagree with him where he's like, that should only just break the count for one person, not the other. That's But like, roll into the ring. Then
you can't have two separate counts.
Yeah, roll into the ring. Yeah, you can't be like 3, 7, 4, 8. Poor referee can only do a certain amount of things. But it's that. Like, have count outs. So they mean, because no one thinks no one's getting counted out. So if they're not going to get counted out, why would they bother? They'll just, and it gets into the psyche of the wrestlers. So they don't bother to do that. The only time they ever do anything that looks like it's going to be a count out is when they do that whole beat the count back in spot. Other than nobody ever believes that's going to happen. You want to shock me? No. Have a guy not answer the 10 count for once. That's a shocking thing because they always roll in right at 9. So why not have him try to get in and fall? You need these things. You need DQs. You need count outs because they're all storytelling things. You need someone like MJF goes to hit the guy with the ring. The guy catches it, punches MJF, takes the ring off, puts the ring on himself, punches him, pins him. 1, 2, 3. Crowd goes apeshit. Referee notices he's got the ring on, disqualifies him. That's a storytelling arc. It's one of the, and this is like a story that I don't know if I've told it or not, but it's one that we used back at Riot City Wrestling when Brooksy was on he was on his championship role, and I was managing him. So we were trying to find ways that we could look like the other guy had won the title, and then get it ripped from him. So what we did is during the course of the match, I threw a chain to Brooksy. Brooksy went to hit him with it. Bang, clocked him with it. And then once he clocked him with it and he was out, he tucked the chain in the guy's tights. Okay, goes for the pin. The guy kicks out. A couple of seconds later, referee gets knocked down. A little bit of a tussle. He hits his finisher. Referee comes through, goes for the pin. 1, 2, 3. Oh my God, new Riot City Wrestling champion. Referee raises the guy's hand. When he raises the guy's hands, he notices the chain sticking out of the guy's tights. So the referee pulls it out and goes, use this to change it, disqualification, change the belt back. If you could have seen the look on the crowd's face because they knew we screwed him, because as soon as the pin happened, I ran into that ring and told the ref, he hit him with a chain, ref checking, he hit him with a chain, because I knew that chain was in the guy's tights, and they did that screw job. They wanted to lynch us. They dead set wanted to lynch us coming out because we robbed them. We robbed them of seeing a title change, and we robbed their baby face of getting the win finally on us. So when he eventually gets that comeback match and hits, like in that comeback match where he knocked me out with a chair before he finished Brooksy, that was what the crowd had been waiting for months, because they'd seen us screw people over for week with DQs and like cheap shots and wins like that. It builds something. So when there's a blow off, they get exactly what they've been wanting for how many months. And we made them pay to see it every month come in, because there might be a chance they're going to get him this month. They're going to get him this month. Then eventually they saw it and they're like, we knew we'd get him. And then I came back the next month talking shit. And they just wanted to see me get hit again. They wanted to see Brooksy get hit again. That's the whole arc of storytelling. The disqualifications are a big part of that. To be standing on that and saying that we're not going to do that because we don't need these cheap finishes. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Everyone does. It's wrestling. It's a storytelling arc. Sorry.
That's
get off me soapbox.
When it comes down to it, no, we love hearing the rants, Todd. That's part of what we're here for. And it does all come down to telling a story and getting us invested. So if you're invested in what we're doing here, jump onto social media, Wrestle Radio Australia on Facebook, at Wrestle Radio AU on Twitter and on Instagram. Follow us on there. Let us know what you think. Do you agree or disagree with Todd? Does there need to be disqualifications and countouts in wrestling? I agree with Todd. What do you think? Let us know.
They usually do disagree.
Yeah, if you haven't already, they always disagree.
Unless
if you haven't already
I'm
subscribed to
unless I'm bagging
Australia,
WWE.
make sure then they'll agree with you when you're bagging out WWE. If you're not subscribed to Wrestle Radio Australia, come along and do it. It's free. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you're getting your podcasts, you can subscribe to Wrestle Radio Australia. Especially if you're over on Apple Podcasts, please give us a rating and review. A 5-star review helps us so much getting into the ears of new listeners. Also, Wrestle Radio Australia merch is on Redbubble. You can go to Redbubble, search for Wrestle Radio Australia. You can find all the merch there. The proceeds from it go to Gotcha for Life and Beyond Blue, two awesome charities that help out with men's mental health here in Australia. If you want to follow us personally and disagree with our wrestling takes, Todd is at Beast Eastman. I am at Lachlan Albert. Come on, have an argument with us about wrestling. We clearly love ranting about it. Is there anything else you've got to plug there, Todd?
No, I don't.
Awesome. In that case,
I think I've got Venom coming
once
up.
again.
I can't remember the date off the top of my head, but yeah. Whatever, mate.
Whatever, mate. So with that, make sure, please, you do hit subscribe. I just want to emphasize that again. I know I just did the plugs, but please, it does matter. And you know what? If you're on YouTube listening and watching this, hit that subscribe, hit the like, hit the thumbs up, hit the bell icon so you get notified. All those things help us grow. So with that, that's been Todd Eastman. I've been Lachlan Albert. Have a good one.